guys have looked phenomenal. CT side of Mirage, definitely going to help matters out. Couple flashbangs and a kit for Dick Stacy. Meanwhile, plenty of utility for the South Koreans, HSK and Stax, running through with smokes. They're all going to be moving towards the A side of the site where there are 3 counter-terrorists waiting for them.
They might just go off of contact. HSK has a smoke set ready to go, but it's been Zeta to kind of lead the charge here. They need to find some pretty rapid frags actually to have a shot at taking this bomb site.
Well, Zeta that Neil mentioned was one of the star players, and I think he just turned around and showed his hand a little bit too early. Urcast going to be called upon again as Zine finds Sicko, who has been one of the best performing players at the minors, any minor indeed. But Urcast can only fend off against 2. Still have a player advantage though, Grayhound Gaming, and the bomb is making a move over on the B side of the map. Stack's taking that ahead of Design quite considerably so, and Malta's definitely heard those footsteps, should be able to get him down. Significant damage inflicted. Dick Stacy will remedy the rest. That's the bomb down. Should be the round to follow.
We'll see what comes of it. And yeah, I was a little bit surprised actually when we saw the interview with Neil. Right, the one he was looking out for was their Opera and Zeta, but I mean, if I'm fearing anyone on this side, it's going to be Zine. I think he's clear-cut just the best player in South Korea and probably top 3 player in the entire region.
A lot of damage from both sides. 12 seconds left. At least take some of these Kevlars away. Make it a little bit more of a scary rebuy, but Malta going to put the final nail in the coffin, and Grayhound Gaming do convert their advantages. Good hold by Urcast on the site, though, on A and Sandwich. If he falls down clean, could have been a whole different story.
It's a bit of a nightmare at that stage. Now they do well for to cover up for themselves there, Grayhound. Yeah, as you said, I think a lot of that round actually falls down to what just happens here, right? The fact that Zeta decides to turn his back just a little bit too far out makes it an easy opening kill for Urcast, and instead of potentially, because you can see that Zeta had the idea of actually clearing that corner, walking in through it to clear out Sandwich, but obviously it becomes a bit of a problem when you do it in that fashion.
His attentions were turned elsewhere. I didn't have any players pushing out with him, so he knew that he would be the first casualty. Stacks, the meanwhile, Desert Eagle, 4 players running with the Deagles. AK-47, plenty of firepower, actually, considering they did concede the first round without a bomb plant.
Yeah. I mean, with the amount of SMGs coming out from Grayhound, there's definitely potential here.
That smoke doing more harm than good if their endeavors were towards A, but it does allow them the luxury of pushing on short catwalk. Just checking ladder. This kind of range, the MP9 should just sit back and wait. But Malta going to peek in first, down to 48 HP, going to pull out the incendiary. Try and lock off one of the angles. Good flashbang, but still Zef gets the better of him. And HSK is also doing some significant damage. This is going to be a bomb plant for MVP. Of course, wasn't the Nico. So they're going to have to convert from here to make it worthwhile. But they are making it costly. Dexter through the smoke, pierces, and takes down HSK. That is pretty rough. Zine, MP9 in hand. He's playing a close angle on bench. And it's down to Grayhound to push him. They don't have an incendiary or any nades to try and flush him out. They're going to have to peek him. And he's going to pop back up again. This is now very possible. He's got 2 kills already. Dexter's going to be charging straight at him. Zine, the 1-on-3 clutch in the second round. What a way to start, Mirage.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And yeah, if there is a player to fear, I'd definitely go with Zine. 1v3 to bring MVP right back at it. And I mean, that's without the AK as well that they salvaged, but man alive, does he know how to use it. He's able to get the separation, actually make it into, well, 1-by-1 or 1-on-1s time and time again. I mean, you also have to kind of question what Grayhound were doing there. Dexter really just hard committing to actually spamming through the bench instead of wrapping around with his teammate at the very end there. Probably much better off following up on that and just attacking from 2 different angles. MVP right back into it, though.
And they're talking with James as well, Halvor, about how they want to get hype and build map morale. Well, that's a pretty good start.
And you add to the fact that this is their map pick, right? All about getting a good feeling about how things are started, especially in a best of 3. Just don't want to have that deflated sense of losing out everything. I'm pretty much losing control over the best of 3 series already in map 1. Ooh, Malta!
Calm down.
Okay then, Urkas. It's going to follow up as well.
All Desert Eagles, MVP, hot off the back of a sick clutch, and now eyeing up the possibility they're going to concede to a much weaker buy. Sicko. That is another Desert Eagle kill. This time, at least it's not a headshot, but...
Another 1v3 on the cards. Ooh. All right then. Milan will be the guy. He will like lead the charge. Yeah. He'll be first in line to start a shouting match.
We had a great time at the Americas Minor with the Brazilian teams going at each other pretty hard. So I'm fine if this gets pretty spicy.
I want to see that, absolutely, especially because of what was mentioned in the interview with James, the fact that Zeta acknowledges it himself, right? It's not a typical thing in Korean culture to get super hyped and start screaming and shouting, all that kind of stuff when you're winning. And they're just kind of trying to break the mold a little bit. So it might do them some good, might be detrimental in the end, but gotta experiment. Elam getting his message across early on here.
These two shots are just disgusting, especially the second one. Zeta was already pretty low.
Halfway covered by the smoke as well. Oh. I guess everything that we built up about MVP feeling good about themselves got quickly torn apart.
And how the fortunes change. Now it's their turn to be in a force buy. It does include an SG and an AK. Yeah, they've got firepower here.
It's more than what they actually had in the round where they won out. Them stacking up early towards the B-bomb side as well. I think that's just the way to go about it as well. You have 2 smokes, so you can section off catwalk entirely if you want, or you can close off the entrance to kitchen, and you have 3 flashes to really get you going. 1 for window, 2 over the roofs, and pretty much regardless, actually, you don't need anything more than that. That's going to be a tough task to deal with if you're Grayhound Gaming. Just 2 players set on that site.
259 ADR, obviously only into round 4. But goes to show the early impact that Zion's 1v3 had. Urkas going to smoke down. Have a quick peek behind it. There is a slight gap in the smoke. Can still see down towards underpass. Going to try and exploit this.
Timing working out so far at the very least. Seth's going to...
Dead man.
Yeah, back up into Sicko. Down he goes. I kind of sad about the fact that MVP wanted to go in towards mid to see if they could take mid control. Just entirely not a whole lot to gain from it. And now Herd's been thinned out. They're still not executing. They don't really have any utility left. They have 1 flash and they just can't. It's going to fly over. Now they just need to rely on the weapons.
They did still have both their assault rifles. Zeta putting bullets down range. 15 seconds, still 74 HP too. This isn't completely tied up just yet, but it's looking increasingly likely as every second passes. HSK fends off the close range incursion from Malta. 3 seconds to go, and at least from the South Koreans' perspective, they did die before the timer ran out, so they're not going to get money screwed too bad.
It could have been worse, for sure. But again, I think they obviously would have liked to had a bomb plant go down there. HSK kind of forced off it. I can't remember who it was actually on the side of MVP, no, on Grayhound either, who was able to just play ring around the rosy with everyone. You could see that Zeta's continuously pushing forward. I think it's Malta actually does a really good job of staying alive and actually getting closer and closer to the bomb while doing so. For now, it's going to be Glock, Eco. No investment whatsoever from MVP. They're just going to funnel out the apps and hope to get a bomb plant down.
And something you don't see too often. But the idea here is get a plant. Anything else, a juicy bonus. Full house of kills, Urkas with 2, Dexter with 3. And running through Palace and Waterfalling always has the potential to yield absolutely nothing, as it is the case here. But yeah, I mean, playing conservatively with the Glocks allows them an AK by now.
Absolutely. And you'd much rather see this, that we're seeing display from MVP rather than the, well, very much confusing buys out of 5-power that we saw yesterday on Mirage. Because that was a bit of a head scratcher from start to finish.
There's the purpose of the Molotov showing itself again. Sicko carves open a slight gap with his smoke. Well, terror smoke actually. Double nades into connector, but they don't check it. Zeph mid-air. I think he just landed when he pulled the trigger. Saved his life. But Malta has made inroads back in towards window. Zine around the back of them. The terrorists switching places with the CTs, and you can see from Grayhound Gaming, they have absolutely no idea this is possible.
Zeta just going to spot out Dick Stacy as well. Wins out the duel as well. Malta's going to be the big deciding factor here in this. Bomb's made it around the corner at the very least, and Seth's going down. Low HP member. HSK's going to drop the bomb as well, but it goes right into the hands of Zine.
Ooh, a dink onto Zeta. No, he would have realized that the call will come through that one of these last two players is low. Obviously, we have the benefit of seeing that they both are.
No HEs or Molotovs, though, on Grayhound. They're going to have to do this with the flashes and smokes that they've set up. Also have to wait for Dexter to make the full rotation through B-apps here.
Sicko P250, one bullet.
Saw a gun barrel.
Yeah, one bullet and it's going to be death. And now Zion is showing his hand, but they're both very low. Next bullet will finalize this round. It's actually going to go to Dexter. Zion's crosshair was right on him. And just in time, he's going to get the defuse.
I thought Zion had that. Like a little bit back and forth TP-TOing, but I thought he would land at least one shot because there wasn't an immediate connection from Dexter because obviously he has a harder time finding the angle. Oh, well. Grayhound still being able to find more rounds on the board here. As much of a fight as MVP are putting up. I mean, so many things went right for MVP in that situation as well. As you said, the swap of position initially, the fact that Malta comes back into ladder, finds Zeph, that's not really too big for the round. Sure, it's nice that he picks up kills, but bomb control or site control was already lost. A lot of things were going well for MVP.
Now, there's still a lot to be grateful for from MVP. Yes, it's 5-1, but they've had chances. They'll fancy their chance to get quite a few more rounds. Sicko stands his ground, gets 2, but the bomb's now been dropped courtesy of Dexter's M4. And Zion, try as he may, still finds himself all alone against 3. His partner in crime of Stacks has been dealt with accordingly. There's still plenty of time, so he doesn't necessarily have to force the plant, but he feels like the timing's on his favor and no one on CT side has to roll the dice. It's a beautiful headshot, but the nade from Dick Stacy going to prove to be too costly. Another round, though, the MVP takes 4 players with them, so they're keeping that economy honest.
Keeping the economy honest, getting bomb plans down. Again, they're going to have the opportunity to continuously buy up. One of the only downsides here right now for MVP, outside of not winning rounds, is the fact that a lot of it comes down to Zine. It feels like very much they're relying on him to be able to either get them back into rounds with the hope of winning or setting them up to actually have a good start. That's not going to be enough, at least, to get you across a challenger like Grayhound at this stage. Technical pause is going to give Termi, the coach of MVP, a chance to talk things over. We see a ton of experience on board with him as a former player as well.
Team with a huge amount of firepower. That's why we were so surprised hearing the first day that they actually lost to Alpha Red.
Yeah.
And take nothing away from Alpha Red. They proved to be a pretty damn solid team, but MVP came back in the best of 3. Yeah, Tyloo as well, indeed.
They did not have an easy road, to put it mildly. Obviously, if you start off with MVP as your opener, then you go on to face Tyloo and get to have a go at MVP once again, and you actually come out of every single match with at least a map win. It's pretty damn impressive from a region that hasn't really had too much of an indent on the scene at all. So if TyCS can do something off of this, if they can use this as motivation, it's a great sign for what's to come in the future. For now, though, eyes trained on MVP as they did win out the best of 3, putting them forward in into the playoff stages. But obviously, tough situation they find themselves in right now. Down pretty heavily, and again, as close as they can get in certain or in multiple rounds, it doesn't really do much for you if you can't actually convert it at some point.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. Maybe one of the reasons why it is a tactical, though I feel it may have turned into a technical, unfortunately. But yeah, they're going to have to start putting some rounds together. It's all well and good getting 4 plays here and 3 plays there, but if you're only going to be ending the half with 3 or 4 rounds, that's not going to be good enough on a map like Mirage, especially your choice of map.
Absolutely.
You can see Zine is just doing so much work as well. He's top fragging 11 and 6.
Yeah, on the entire server, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just on his side. He does that as well, obviously. Pretty hefty fashion. Zeph's going to force the hand of Grayhound early on. Dextacy's going to have to utilize a fair bit of utility. Zeph's not really bothered by this at all.
Good smoke by Dextacy, but Malta has been quarantined behind a smoke of his own. He's going to be deciding to push through it, now realizing that there's more players behind him. But MVP, for one of the first times, actually have the player advantage. They've typically been fighting from behind and taking it very low. Sicko, eyes trained on bench, nothing's going to be peeking. There's no reason for MVP to peek. They've got this trifecta set up. Solid positions for the retake. Dexter, this smoke will allow Sicko to move up on the left-hand side and make MVP feel a little bit sketchy in some of these positions.
They might just want to consider saving, though. They're so far ticked into the bomb. Sicko's going to go for glory, and it's not going to pan out, so Dexter has no business continuing this on.
Yeah, that flash really weren't it, Chief. It actually bounced off the wall in the eyes of Sicko. Didn't even affect the player on bench.
Yep. Oh, well, MVP with a really, really solid B-execute right there. You can see the entire point of having Zeph on a MAC-10, what he's meant to do in that round, just being the point man, forcing out early utility, setting up the early flashes out window. No real chance for Grayhound there. Great trading as well from MVP. It's cool to see Zeph actually being able to keep up with, I guess, the young kids nowadays as well. He's the only OG member of the MVP PK actual project. For those who don't know, PK stands for Project Korea. It's also a homage to one of the former teams that Termi, Zeph, and so on actually played on. It's the only one to really stick around now anymore. The age of 30.
Just what the link of the coach and Zeph have together too. They've been around the block so many times together in the past. Dextacy going to take a whole bunch of damage, but it was to his leg with the AWP, so it's going to keep him alive. Dexter also tagged down to just a measly 7 HP. The early encounters have not gone their way, but they're going to line up. I thought Sicko had 2 or 3 there. Did a lot of damage in the process. Not able to be finished off, though, from Urkast's FAMAS. They had opportunities, Grayhound Gaming, but they didn't quite capitalize on them.
Still a chance, though. Dexter's moving far up here in B-apps, and there's a bit of a pincer actually being set up here. This could be disaster for MVP. All right, they deal with Malta pretty early on. So even though Dexter's going to get the pounce on Aegis K, he's down to 7 HP, so you'd expect them to find at least some sort of an answer. Stax is just going to run away, not even remotely keen on taking that challenge. Dextacy's been spotted out as well, so they know where both of the players are. They're both on low HP, too.
Oh, that plant's out in the open, but a smoke's going to save his life. And Zine up to the task. Dexter, 7 HP. One of the first players to see action and get battered down. He's the last beacon of hope. Grayhound going to hope that he can try and thread the needle onto the site, but the only thing threaded is a bullet between his eyes from Stax. So MVP bouncing right back, and this is where the issues with taking players here and there, the 3-player, the 4-player frags, is going to catch up with Grayhound.
It really is. They're going to have to go for an eco. This becomes a more or less a 2-for-1 situation for the South Koreans. Obviously, great for them to have that being the scenario, but it's also just long-term wise, it's a bit of an issue for the Australians and Kiwis as well. The fact that now you're pretty much tucked into a corner where you're only going to get one good buy, and you need to make that count. Otherwise, it's going to be buy, eco, buy, eco, buy, eco. And the entire half becomes multiple gimme opportunities for MVP to really get on a bit of a run.
We're discussing as well about how much potential and firepower MVP have, but I've been so impressed with Sicko.
Oh, throughout this minor, who's been absolutely amazing. And, I mean, he also has something to prove in many ways. First minor with Grayhound, playing against Sterling, who was there for the Katowice minor.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to be able to shine and really put his mark on this tournament has been important for Grayhound, and I think he's done a damn good job of it.
Yeah, Maniac put a tweet out earlier today, I think it was, saying that he is basically
I think he leads in like 13 out of 20 categories or something.
Statistically, he is one of the most impressive players too, if not the most impressive player. It's going to be nearly a full-on eco. Just a P250 and flashbang in the hands of Dexter. 4 players going to be stacking outside the connector. Maybe a potential push. Holding fire for the time being, though. So Dexter's perched up on the triple box. He can flash over towards mid, and then they can just pile out. But with these smokes coming in and greeting them, that play is going to be somewhat dulled, as will Dick Stacy, and you'd expect the rest of Grayhound. They at least do bounce back with a kill, which is more than I was anticipating. Maybe a second. Oh, Stacks. Was it Stacks that was getting dinked and he spun around, or was he the second player in?
It might have been HK.
Because if that was Stacks, that's a hell of a flip he just pulled off.
Absolutely. Definitely need wrist warmers and all that kind of stuff if you're going to pull that stuff, those kind of shots off.
Yeah, when you've got fire all over the site and smoke's raining in, not much you can do with USPs.
It's good to see, though. Again, far too many teams, especially the inexperienced ones, they forgo this kind of ABCs of how to take a site. When they're up against pistols, they become more worried about necessarily getting jumped on than actually putting themselves in the best situation possible to win out rounds. Those are the worst rounds possible to win as well. Not only for the fact that it's a round you shouldn't be losing, but that you give away free weapons to the CT side, they get a bit of a freebie. Their economy is immediately boosted. Just so much implication to throwing away around like that. Definitely worth spending the around $1,000 on utility just to make sure that's a guarantee instead of a potential fluke.
I mean, we've seen quite a few times now teams that don't go in for the utility and don't play safe, and they get punished. And it can straight up lose the matches.
Yep.
So, as you say, playing cautiously, playing smart, definitely the way forward. Smoke onto the back of CT is going to stop Sicko from doubling up, but he's already had a huge amount of impact from the boxes. They're not going to check the firebox from Dexter. Only the one kill, due to the fact that Zeph went for the plant on connector. If he went for the default plant, 100% is a 2K. Dick Stacy, though, is locking it down from short. Double peek from CT boxes. And Grayhound back into the driver's seat, keeping multiple players alive.
Dexter in that position, you'd expect them to have a lot more impact. Instead, it ends up being kind of an inconsequential frag at all. You know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not even the bomb planter. It doesn't really create that much disbalance because you have Zine up in apps immediately getting the trade, so it doesn't stop anything. It doesn't delay anything. Not really common to see that limited amount of impact from that position, but nonetheless, Dick Stacy made quick work of most people that he got his eyes on from short.
Yeah, no smoke to stop the spray. Fortunately for MVP, they're on somewhat of a hot streak, so they're going to have another buy in effect. Zeta against Sicko with the orbs. Early Molotov tossed in. And the only thing it's really doing is stalling Stacks, who it's not as if he's like the spearhead of some kind of a rush. So that Molotov, not really effective.
MVP just kind of hanging out at this stage. Bit of a difference from what we've seen in some of the earlier minors. I think it was Sharks when we saw him playing Mirage on the Americas one. They had something like 6 or 7 rounds towards BD in a row. And they would do that for going map control the entirety of the time. MVP making sure that they got the tabs covered at the very least, keeping eyes either towards A apps or mid at any given time. Actually just going to vacate the entirety of B halls as well.
MVP deciding to switch it up towards the A side now. Having pretty slow rounds overall.
A lot more methodical than most of the teams we see here in the Asian minor. Smoke's going to go down as well. They're going to wait it out until Sicko's without vision. Probably for the better, especially when Zeph's gone down as well. Now you need all the numbers you can have.
25 seconds. They still got to peel their way onto the site. Urcast not smoked out. Hasn't been dealt with yet. They're going to go for that short plant again.
Oof.
Completely backfires. Much more like it from Grayhound. 8-4 in the lead.
That feels very optimistic from MVP, right? You attempt a connector plant without having any control whatsoever, because Sev's gone down once he peered out of underpass, so you know there's been people in the area. You still don't have people swinging wide to actually clear it out completely. And if that's the kind of after plant you want to set up for, then you might as well have people dive into connector, because that's going to be your end game position anyway, right? That's where you have so much power and so much control over the site. Even if you were in a 2v3 or a 1v3, you can still work off of that, right? So Urkus being able to go unchecked that entire time after picking up the first frag on Zef, that feels like a bit of a mistake from MVP.
A bit telegraphed. I think the last 3 or 4 plants have been on the short side of the boxes rather than default. And I mean, you can understand to a degree, because
it's
if you haven't dealt with CT, then there's always that possibility the peak comes in.
Yeah, exactly. It's completely fair to attempt it. You could attempt 15 rounds in a row as long as you actually work towards either grabbing mid control in the process or maintaining it, or clearing out connector. That you have to do one of those 2 things. Otherwise, you're going to get punished repeatedly, because there's never going to be a chance, or never going to be a time where you have 0 presence from the CTs, even if it's from short or if it's from connector or jungle. They're always going to be within an opportunity to shut you out. Another tactical pause, though, to talk things through, and we're getting fairly late into the first half here. So they need to find some more results and get something more in return here where the first half ends. 4 rounds, I think, definitely not enough. Grayhound's going to be perfectly fine, and they're going to feel so comfortable if that's the way it closes out.
Well, that Molotov actually gets extinguished, but Sicko can't capitalize. Looked like a freebie of a kill. Lets 2 players go by, but at least that's information.
He was waiting for that off to peek into mid.
Rushing down on B now, though. Dick Stacy holding off with Malta. That's a horrible bomb drop. That probably should be the round following it. They've got a Galil and Mac-10. Neither ideal weaponry in this situation, and Grayhound going to lay the tactical pause to rest. I think it goes back to what we were saying before. You've got to get the conversion rate up if you're MVP.
Absolutely. I've seen so many teams actually on the CT side of that B defense on Mirage as well drop that smoke. And in a weird way, it's working out in a similar fashion for all of them. It just becomes a bit of a wall. It definitely isn't. You can walk through it. But the T sides just seem to be funneled through into crossfires time and time again. MVP no different.
It also takes out the element of verticality from a T's perspective, looking to bench in the backsides of the site. It completely blinds that, which is one of the perks that the terrorists have coming out onto B. So it is a huge smoke for so many different reasons. And I think it's been Dick Stacy that's been planting that, and Malta. The 2 of them have been interchanging. It's been super detrimental for MVP. And, well, you can see the repercussions are Deagles and a P250, and they actually have no nades left. But that's going to help things out. Dick Stacy railed by Stacks. They don't have players behind him, though. They're actually going to be funneling their way through underpass to connector.
Stacks waiting patiently here, though. Nade coming out, so he knows the position, at least for the time being, out of Malta. Gets a little bit eager there. I think if he stands out, waits for a second round of nades to come out, then he might get the drop on Malta, but wants to get things done quicker and pays for it. So, mid advantage back in the favor of Grayhound here.
Strange old round this, Fen. They were going under past the connector, second-guessed themselves, went back to B up, second-guessed themselves, wrapped around T-spawn to mid, and now they're going connector again.
It's all a part of the plan.
Doing laps of the map and hoping that Grayhound have over-rotated, but Cast and Dexter haven't budged an inch. They have a 2-2 formation with Sicko playing AWP in kitchen. Surprisingly, they get a bomb plant. I honestly did not see that coming.
I guess at this stage, Grayhound doesn't really care. They know that MVP are 100% going to be able to buy up in the last round of the first half, so if they get a bomb plant for it, not going to change the course of action regardless. They just want to make sure that they don't run into something dumb and give away a man advantage or weapons potentially to the MVP side.
RIP headphone users. Unless that didn't come through a microphone and I just sound crazy.
Yeah.
Which,
very possible.
nothing different there. No change. But it has been an odd half of CS here, then, because if you weren't paying attention to the score, you'd probably think this is incredibly close. Like a sort of 8-5, 8-6 scoreline. Because MVP have had so many opportunities, but yet they just haven't quite got across the finish line.
Just, what's it saying? Always the bridesmaid. It's kind of how this first half has felt for MVP, but to be fair to Grayhound, they've played a solid CT side here.
They have.
Really made many mistakes.
It's been a reoccurring theme that, you know, when they've been getting battered, the teams that play against Grayhound,
yeah,
it's not necessarily been them playing poorly. It's just that Grayhound have been that damn good. That's why we've been so impressed by them.
I think we could see a definitive change up in just the team in general, right? From the Katowice Major, obviously new player in since that time, new coach as well, but Grayhound definitely seemed to have taken bigger leaps in terms of improvement than the rest of them here. They had MVP there, they had Ty Lu, and so on. They had some familiar names here in the Katowice qualifier as well. But this time they definitely are the front runners.
Play down in underpass has been spotted. The barrel of the gun just protruding around the corner, but HSK and Zeta have both chipped in with kills. So MVP could maybe end this half in winning ways. Not if Sicko has something to say about it. The remaining 3 South Koreans funneling their way through Connector. That's the bomb down.
They just keep giving opportunities. Stax even had a Molotov, so he could have, gotten Sicko off that angle. Now he has a smoke to his name, too. Doesn't get to use any of them.
Oh, this is why Neil said they're worried about Zeta. He's turning this round back in their favor, and it's going to be another 1v3. 2 of the 5 rounds come off clutches. MVP still trail 10-5 at halftime.
As I said, for how many closed rounds they've had, it's pretty incredible that 2 of the 5 would be out of 1v3 clutches and not any of the other rounds where they have had, I guess, more of a legitimate chance to win out rounds, if you could put it that way. But yeah, I think it definitely saves a lot for MVP's chances here for a second half, and we'll get right into that. But first, quick commercial break, but do join us when we come back.
If MVP want to come back on their choice of map, it's going to be from a 10-5 deficit. It could have been a whole lot better, but then again, it could have been a little bit worse had it not been for 2 huge clutches towards the end of the half. They're now going to be moving on to the CT side, however, Halvor, and that's going to give them a little bit of confidence. It is the easier of the sides, you'd have to think.
Yeah, no, it should be, especially for a team that has picked into the map as well, right? Should have pretty good control of how to maintain map control, how to set up your rotations, and all that good jazz. So if they were to actually pick up a pistol here, I think we're back to even ground in many ways. But yeah, we definitely need to see more out of the MVP players like that from Zeta. It felt like it was more or less just Zine being able to really put a dent into the Grayhound defense. And you can't be alone about it if you want to make it to a major.
Certainly not. He was the player that kicked it off with a 1v3 clutch in the second round. Broke the economy down early. Fast plays, Grayhound. Target painted on the A site, but Zeta and HSK have a few things to say about that. Much better. Second pistol, gone in the blink of an eye.
There you go. Some individual prowess as well from the South Koreans. Very good to see. HSK been rather quiet so far in this matchup. Bit of a odd situation for MVP as well, right? You have to consider the fact that HSK, Zeta. HSK has been in MVP PK before, got benched, brought back again. Now with Zeta in the lineup, both of them having been primary operators for their teams. And, well, they're finding the balance within it all, and seems to be working pretty decently up to this stage. But it feels like it's any given day as to who actually has most impact with that weapon. Zine finds 2, does a lot of damage onto Sicko as well. Shouldn't be possible to get a bomb plant here. Zeta dealing with this nicely, even though it's a bit labored versus Dick Stacy.
Definitely could have gone clean up, but they only lost 1 player as a result. I thought Zeta was in a world of hurt. You're seeing tags left and right, but he actually only lost like 27 health. That's blocks for you.
I thought he'd be dead to rights once he went wide for Dick Stacy, but I think it was Dexter who was the second player alive there by new boxes. Didn't actually swing out wide. Just kept Zeta alive. MVP happy about the current circumstances, though. They have to go up against the A-case of Grayhound, though.
Nade's not going to do anything, but the M4 from Zine certainly will as he moves to 17 kills. ADR spiking once again. Grayhound going to take the opportunity to push both Malta and Dick Stacy up mid towards Connector. The bomb traversing back to T-spawn. Just to throw a smoke, I believe. Molotov also been put down. Stacy did take a bit of damage from that. They may have heard it from window.
Molotovs are so finicky in that way, right? If that's the start of a Molotov, he takes 6 damage and everything's fine and dandy. Now he's below headshot range for the M4 and the FAMAS. Could actually have pretty significant impact. Nonetheless, though, does make his way into CPL with the help of his teammate. Zeph's posted up, though. So it becomes a bit of a waiting game. How long is Zeph's going to wait out here to see if there's any sort of backstab before he rotates over to help the players on B? Because they're going to be in for a bit of a treat here very shortly.
They may need the nudge as a result of some aggression on the B side. Stacks.
Oh, Zeta. He's doing a man's job there over on the B bomb site. Ooh, Zeta actually still sticking around instead of just playing the position.
17 seconds. Grayhound have at least dug themselves back into this, but it's been buried once again with Stacks' MP9. Sicko had some fantastic AWP work. AK-47's not going to help him out. MVP off to a flawless start in the second half.
Exactly what they wanted, and that was all down to Zeta's work, actually. The initial first, well, the 2 first frags that he picks up is pretty much what stems the tide. It holds Grayhound back. It prevents anything from happening. This is the real big one as well, because they're so out of balance at that point. Them having to vacate the balcony area due to Molotovs, that could so easily end up being a double frag for Grayhound instead of finding 2 for himself.
There's the Eagles and a P250. Looking to train down some headshots. Rattle some domes from mid and underpass.
Zeta's just going to creep back and forth. Seeing what kind of information he finds. It actually ducks out before he gets any sort of confirmation or any eyes on Matisse.
Stacks. Going to be baited somewhat from the player that's hopping up and down, which is going to be Zeph. The idea is draw some fire. If they start firing in, then he can just peek around the corner. However, if Urkas just gets an insta-headshot, that kind of throws that plan down the drain.
It really does, and Zeph's always lonesome. Managed to find 1 coming in from short. They need rotations to come in pretty quickly. There's a HSK. Zeph doing his damnedest to stay alive.
Sicko's gone up. He knew exactly where he was, and frustratingly, the rifle was just out of arm's reach. You actually had to go out in the open to pick it up. And there wasn't many bullets, if any, left in the FAMAS.
That was way more expensive than it needed to be, though, for MVP. Can't really do much about Urquest's initial 1D, but the setup not really accounting for the fact that Grayhound might stack up and go towards B. And I will say, I as you mentioned, right, the jumping player on the B bomb side is meant to be the decoy. He's meant to be the distraction that allows for Stacks to do a whole lot of work. Instead, he actually swings wide, which is a little bit unnecessary. Now with the aggressive push into mid, they're going to run into an op. Might not have been expecting that.
Speaking of unnecessary, that kind of aggression with no one there to help him out, going to cost them dearly. If Zeph goes for this peek, there's 2 players looking directly at this angle.
Seems ill-advised to say the very least, but Zion is there to at least find 2. Nonetheless, though, Grayhound still going to be favored when it's all said and done. Malta from top mid extinguishes Zion's burning flame. So his hot streak over. Stacks is in a bit of an off angle here, but problem for him is, like, where do you go once you find the potential first frag?
It's good in the respect that it locks both ramp and connector from being peaked, but the downside is, as you say, it's more like a one-and-done situation. And they know, being a player behind, he's going to do more than that. Unfortunately, can't get anything done, and that leaves Zeta with the arduous task of dealing with a 1v3. The only way this is going to work is if they try and cross for some unknown reason without a smoke,
like that,
which they've done, and he misses.
Oof.
Now, if that had landed and the bomb gets dropped in a really awkward position, that round is then winnable.
If it rolls forward, right, towards connector, becomes really awkward for Ground to have to try to retrieve that. Especially because they didn't have any smokes left over to use. They could have, I guess, tried to have Molotov and AG smoke do something for them, right? It's not the easiest to poke through, but if you're trained on the position, Zeta should be able to hit those. But misses out on the one opportunity he was given. There we have it. He might actually be the victim of a backstab here. That timely smoke.
Yeah, that's huge. It allows him to focus on the other side, which is where Malta was pushing in.
I think that just keeps him alive as well. You have it. So they do, well, keep the op going into the next round. That's pretty big. We haven't seen Zeta been activated too much with the op just yet. Again, vacated the mid area with Grayhound taking a long time to get in there, but he's definitely capable of doing a whole lot of damage. To see the odds from GG.bet, still pretty tight. One of the closer ones we've had throughout all 4 minors really so far.
Yeah, I mean, Grayhound have the more rounds, but of course it's MVP's choice of map. They're on the CT side, and they've started this second half so very well that, yeah, I think it really is on a race's edge at this stage. It's very difficult to call who's going to come out victorious. They've got a 2-round lead, but MVP have a little bit of money accrued and a bit of momentum as well.
I think that's where we're seeing the tactical pause coming out from Grayhound. They want to make sure they do this right. Once they have the opportunity to potentially break MVP as well, they want to take it. So the rebuy, not going to be the prettiest thing you've ever seen. 2 M4s, a FAMAS and MP9, lacking utility. So a lot of this is going to be down to Zeta and what he can actually do for the team.
I will say, if this is a clean sweep round for Grayhound, those odds quickly start going in their favor because they're going to start to open up a big lead towards the finish line. So this is a huge round for MVP. The South Koreans have got to hold on firm. They've lost the first. But Malta is also going to be silenced. So they're keeping the dream alive, but that dream turning into a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, the smoke bang from Urquest is so detrimental. And they may save as a result of their weakened economy.
They should save. Look at what they have to retake this with. They have a flash and a smoke. They don't have any sort of defuse kit. Now, if anything, maybe you have Zion post up towards Catwalk, see if he can actually retrieve that Krieg that was on Malta. That's the only person who's anywhere, or should be anywhere near the bomb site area. He's, wanting to hold on to his armor instead. That's a big one as well. Grayhound with a committed move towards the B-bomb site. Just too much pace on them to be stopped. The weaponry and utility not there in place for MVP. And at some stage, I think MVP kind of needs to come to terms with the fact that we're not getting a whole lot of value of having Zeta towards the middle area. Grayhound don't seem too interested in actually taking control over that early on, or if they're going to do so, they're going to do it with smokes for window and plenty of Molotovs to force them out of position. So maybe you have to post them up on the extremities of the map to see if you can find picks or potentially be a sole defender of a bomb site, just the anchor that holds things down.
I do wonder if MVP, obviously, with the 3 safeguards, one of which was an SMG, if they try something aggressive, maybe try and flash into to middle and push or ramp.
I guess one of the issues as well is that do you force up behind it? Because it's, as you said, 3 saved weapons, but one of them is an SMG. You're not going to have a lot of utility. Do you force up with additional pistols behind it, or do you actually think about the long term? Because again, it's not out of the realm of possibility to bring it back from, let's say, a 14-9 situation either.
Sure. Maybe one of the main reasons as to why the tactical timeout was called, just to get on the same wavelength, and they've decided not to. They haven't even got more grenades. They actually saved the flash and smoke. In fact, I think Zeph picked up a flash.
I can actually, yeah, I can get on board with this fully. Zeta as well is going to get into position with the smoke, extinguishing the Molotov. This is what you want to see out of him as well. He needs to be aware that Sicko's been holding off mid, but Malta's going to peer out too soon. Oh, Dick Stacy dodging a bullet there with the crouch. Also lands one onto the dome of Zeta.
Yeah, it's a peak that looks pretty clumsy, but you could see what he was looking for to try and turn the fortunes back in his team's favor. Take the initiative. You know you've got the weakened guns. You don't have many nades left. Just like that from HSK. And he's going to be able to dip out as well. There's no avenge kill on the cards, but the bomb is traversing on the A side through ramp.
So much of this is going to be down to HSK. What kind of info he finds? That is lethal information. Sicko takes him down. Ooh, leg shot.
Both players exchange damage, though. Stacks has also been tacked down. Just 3. MP9 at this range could have got the kill if any bullet connected, but it didn't. And now Stacks on his measly 3 HP has 1 HP for each player left alive. Can he dish out the damage? Not looking good, is it?
I think he's looking to dash out of damage, but problem for him is that Urkus got in forward position in jungle, so how do you get past this? Barring a crazy quick scope or something to that effect, but likelihood of him expecting this, not too big. And Neil's pretty happy about that. See, this is what people haven't been able to experience throughout all of those I-Series over the years, right?
This is why it creases me when people complain about, like, toxicity and stuff between players with all of the trash talking. Yeah. It's like, you have no idea how bad that used to be.
And even then, it's all on the server. At least in 99% of the cases, right? It's a way to psych yourself up and potentially psych out your opponents. And you leave it on the server as well. The buy coming in from MVP is at least rich with rifles, but utility is not quite where they want it to be, and that's why you see the aggressive posturing towards A8.
I mean, the reason for the scream is that Neil knows that they are on the brink, they're on the precipice of breaking MVP on their map, of taking it, moving one giant step forward, securing their place in the finals of the upper brackets and potentially qualifying for the major.
That'd be such a massive get for Grayhound.
Molotov's in. Grayhound not messing about, just going straight for the jugular. Good flashbang, but Stacks is going to stand his ground. Mac 10 letting Grayhound down. Dexter, significant damage. HSK and Zine gonna have to walk over the ruins of what was once theirs. This site is being razed to the ground if this bomb detonates, and only HSK can stand between them, but he has no nades or kit to do it with, and so he's piecing out of there.
It's gonna have to be the bitter pill to swallow for HSK as he backs out. He needs to hold on to that rifle and see if they can do anything with it. Right now, Grayhound, we're just slightly abusing that B bomb site time and time again.
Yeah, they've locked in the weakness, and I mean, the terrifying prospect on the side of MVPPK is that, well, yeah, even if HSK saves this M4, they have nothing behind it.
Neil's getting the shouting match started early. I really hope that all of this comes through the microphones.
Oh, it sounds like he's right next to us. Yeah. It has to be coming through, surely. So tactical pause. MVP, it's probably going to be pistols, I would have to imagine, if they do force, unless they play for overtime.
Well, I think the smartest thing is to play for overtime. You've been having so many issues actually dealing with this on, well, the very few buys you've had already, and likelihood of you getting an increased chance with just pistols or a random force buy is not that big, so they've gone that route. It's hard for a lot of teams to make that kind of a decision. They want to obviously prevent Grayhound from being in a position where they can feel safe.
Yeah.
But I think it's the right one. It gives you the better chance of actually completing a comeback. So the half investment is there. They're still going to have enough money to buy on the next one. And who knows, maybe we can see some stars aligning for them here. They've got Deagles. Got forward positioning as well. They've noticed that B has been a bit of an issue for them.
Mirage completely baited on the end of a rod. Sicko just making sure that he drops the bomb in case the oncoming CTs get the better of him, but now realizing it's not going to be the case, he's going to back away because his teammates have made a lot of movement, gathered a lot of intel on A site. Malta's already through on jungle. They haven't checked the CT spawn side, but this position is huge. Grayhound going to try and push behind it. They got the nades to supplement the push. Sicko connects with his AWP, can't get the second, but they're walking through fire. That spin around from Dexter was something special. And now Zeta 1-on-3. Does have a Deagle and a Kevlar. Hasn't been tagged too badly.
Still needs to deal with the AWP on Sicko, though. Smoke's going to allow him to get through. Picks up an AK as well. And the two players are isolated now on the side of Grayhound. Oh, really needed to land that instantly. And Sicko's actually going to get the return as well. I thought that would be pretty much a gift package for Dexter to get the return, but Sicko somehow manages to waste a lot of that one. Because if he finds the immediate connection onto Sicko, he can drop that into Sandwich, puts a lot of pressure onto Dexter, even though he has a decent enough after-plant position, not necessarily forced to do anything, but MVP pretty much get the ideal scenario that they could have wanted for themselves. Well done by Sicko. A little bit luck involved to not go down as well, but you take those.
I mean, he's thanking his guardian angel for that, because he really should be dead.
Stack's actually picking up that secondary off over towards B, and might be the right call as well. HSK not gonna get too much out of it. I think that Molotov just went outside of the map, actually, from Aircast.
Yeah, it wasn't shallow enough to deal with Zeph, so he can just stay in position on Van. Fortunately for Aircast, he's played this slowly anyway, so he's not going to get baited into going for that peak.
But yet again, it's going to be the B bomb site for Grayhound.
First point of contact is Stacks, but he's whiffed. How costly this could prove to be, and it will. Aircast going to get him dropped down. Zeph is holding on heroically, but eventually there's too many players for him to contend against. That grenade is going to land on the feet of Zeta.
Well, Zion's committed into the bomb site, though. I'm not sure if this has been heard. Well, now it definitely has been. Does significant damage onto Dick Stacy. He's got the AWP to cover him as well, and Dexter, 1v2, 12 HP. Sneaks away with the bomb, actually goes back in for more. Probably hoping to get the drop on the MVP players, but at least a response from MVP. Might be a little bit late, though. 15-10. And it's an expensive round as well. 2 players surviving. The rebuy is not going to be the greatest. No double ops to be spotted either. Then again, it didn't have too much impact over towards the B bomb site.
Yeah, I really don't mind that repeat from Dexter. I think he assumed that jumping on the corner, they're going to try and
run back to A. Oh, Zeta. Well then. Ops just not having an impact at all in this round either. At least not yet.
Smoke flash into connector, though, is going to allow them to potentially go for this peak. There are 2 players in there, but Zine, AK, trained into the forehead of Malta. They push out, and it's 3 kills for Dick Stacy. MVP, they've just shot themselves in the foot, and Grayhound will oblige and put them out of Mirage, their choice of map. So many questionable decisions there.
That was a bit of an odd one, yeah, having both players peering towards underpass. No real worry about what could be in the entirety of top mid.